Hello，你好，欢迎回来，Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on June 9th, 2021. Some of you are wondering how come we are getting this kind of scenery more like our Soul Search Sunday. Well, I decided, it's good to change things up once in a while, and I figure sometimes you don't necessarily need to just see me sitting there at the table for the entire session for Wisdom Wednesday. I figure most of you that do look at your screen might actually prefer to look at the yard outside rather than looking at my face for the entire session. And it's not like you're really missing out on anything. I'm not really showing anything that you need to look at. So I figured this may work just as well. But hey, I mean, you guys, please do let me know in the comments if you prefer it this way or if you prefer the old format where I actually sit there at the table in front of the camera for Wisdom Wednesday, and we'll see how we proceed from there. But for this episode, I want to try out this other format where you guys actually get something nice to look at. I assume it's something nice to look at. I know the backyard is not really organized, but I was told that there's some very nice foliage and trees out there that should look pretty good at this time of the year. Today, June 9th, is my brother's birthday. Uh, I definitely hope that he's having a happy birthday, even though we have not spoken to each other for many years. But I do still think of him a lot. So, today I want to talk about one of the most traumatic things when it comes to Chinese culture, Taiwanese culture, and for those of you that may think about visiting Taiwan or China, this is a traumatic experience that you may still run into unless you just stay at the resort in the city at the hotel. If you do venture into the countryside, then I hope this episode will prepare you because this is definitely shocking for people that's not used to it. Yeah, heck, for those people, for those of us who grew up used to this kind of situation, it's still kind of traumatic. What is this experience that is so awful? I think awful is the right word here because we are going to be talking about washroom in Chinese culture, in Taiwanese culture. First, a little bit of a very interesting little bit of trivia. Washroom in Mandarin, if you ever want to know where the washroom is called 厕所,厕所, Chersow, 厕所,厕所. What does it mean exactly? Well, there's actually quite a bit to the name 厕所. 所, SOW, means a kind of house. Now, some people that know Mandarin know that houses are called 房子, Fongje, 房子. So, what is the difference between 所 and 房子? 房子 are houses that have a roof overhead. A 所, on the other hand, are houses that are open. There's nothing overhead, it's just open to the sky. Those are called 所. That's how it used to be in the old days, by the way. Nowadays, a lot of 所 you will hear they are just official places, public places, workplaces. They're called 所, even though they definitely do have roof over their head, but people still use that word. For example, police station called 派出所, and law firm is called 律师事务所. You don't have to memorize these. I'm just giving you an example. Um, the scientific lab is called 研究所. So all these structures, buildings, are using the word 所 at the end because they are official places, public places, workplaces. But in the very beginning, when washroom was named 厕所, the word 所 denotes a structure, a building without roof. How about the word 侧? C-H-E-R, 侧. What is that? That just means to the side, to one side. It's not directly in front. So 厕所 basically translate to a building that is to the side. To the side of what? Well, to the side of the road, to the side of your house, to the side of your office building, because Chinese people were very specific about where a washroom should be. The washroom for Chinese people should always be on the western side of the house, of the home, of the workplace. Always on the west, always on the western side. So it's always on the side, so it's used the word 侧 and then 所, because in the old days, washroom did not have roof overhead. A lot of time, it's just a hole in the ground with uh, uh, corn stalks or bales of hay forming the walls on the side, so you can go in there and people won't be able to see what's happening in there, but it's always open on top. Gradually, as we became more and more modern, then more washrooms started to have people started to put a tarp over the top, so when it rains, it's not all damp and cold in there. And some people will start to build the walls out of brick and clay and give it a more kind of a bamboo uh, roof or a tin roof over the top. But those were the more modern time. But in the very beginning, when people talk about 厕所, washroom, it was basically walls made out of bales of hay or stalks of corn, and then with a bit of brick forming the floor and a big deep hole in the middle where you do your business. Uh, a lot of people that have been to China and Taiwan in the 90s probably remember that a lot of these public 厕所, public washroom, didn't even have door on them. When I went to China in 2007, I actually had a chance to visit some more remote part of China, and it was awkward. Like a lot of time, went to a washroom, and you go into the little stall, and there's no door, so anyone come in can see that you're squatting there, and the people are, oh hi, hey, doing your business. Like people want to chat with you while you are doing your business, and it was so awkward. So for me, I I had to get my friend, whoever was with me, to go in with me, and then they would stand in the doorway with their back to me and just block the view from other people. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do my business in these washrooms. That's how kind of crazy it was. So why should the washroom always be on the west side? This goes into feng shui, the belief that uh, everything in the right position can lead to good luck or bad luck or fortune or mishap or stuff like that. Everything has its place, everything has its energy. So in Chinese belief, west, the direction west, is ruled by the white tiger, one of the four directional beasts in Chinese belief. West is the white tiger, east is the green dragon, north is the black turtle, and south is the phoenix. So West is often associated with violence, with bad luck, with evil. West is where people associate death and evil demonic energy. Those things in Chinese belief all come from the West. And East, opposite to that, the East is always good luck, fortune. East is where the sun comes up. So obviously it's associated with all that positive stuff. So West is all the negative stuff, when East is the positive stuff. So, the only way to fend off these evil, violent energy that come in from the West is to hit it with something that can suppress it. And Chinese people always believe that the only thing that can suppress really violent, very evil energy is filth, something really filthy. Supposedly, a lot of demons, even the really accomplished demonic spirits that can almost reach godly level, that not even afraid of the god, those demonic power are very scared of uh, filth that we create in the washroom. Your urine, your stool, your vomit, stuff like that. Apparently, those in Chinese belief, demonic spirits are deadly afraid of human filth. So Chinese people believe that okay, if you have all this violent energy coming in from the west, then we are going to build our washroom in that direction. So it's going to be like a buffer between you and our household. Now, this may sound like some kind of nonsense superstition to a lot of you, but let me put it in a logical sense, and you will see maybe why Chinese people came to this conclusion. Quite often, you may have a guy who's super badass, super mean, super violent, super whatever. Like you can have the most badass, most violent character that you have no chance of fending him off or preventing him from bullying you. But if you throw filth in his face, suddenly he's going to turn and run away like a little girl. This is for real. Like I actually saw this in action one time when I was in high school. When I was in high school, there was this mentally challenged kid that always got bullied by other people, and there were these group of students that always hounded him, like took his lunch money, took his lunch, and beat him up and stuff like that. And the teachers didn't really do much about stopping it. Now, this was, back in the early 90s in Taiwan, so things were not very uh, modern or civilized back then. It's kind of the schoolyard back then was a uh, survival of the fittest kind of situation. So this kid was always living in fear of the bullies every day he went to school. He wasn't smart enough to be able to deal with them, to outfox them. So a lot of time you just see him getting chased all over the place by these guys. Well, one day, uh, the guy, the kid, was in the washroom. He was detailed to clean the washroom. Back then, when we were going to school in Taiwan, everyone had to be do some public duty to clean the school, to prepare lunch, or bring the lunch, or wash dishes, or clean the bathroom. The worst kind of job was cleaning the bathroom because our bathroom were not the type that you have flushable toilet. Our bathroom was the old style, like I described. a hole in the ground type of washroom. They were filthy, disgusting, crawling with bugs, and always stink to high heaven because the weather was so hot in Taiwan. So this kid went in there to clean the washroom, and the bully went in after him. What they were going to give him the beating of his life. How did I know this? Because me and my friend, we were washing the floor next door to the bathroom at that time. So my friend saw the whole thing and described it to me. This kid went in, and then the bully went in after him, and apparently, what he did was he dipped his hand into the hole in the ground, scooped up a handful of filth, and he turned on the bullies. He turned around to confront the bullies with his hand reaching towards them. And you never see those kids that were the bullies, normally they weren't even afraid of the adults. They were like uh, tough cookies. They wanted to be like hoodlums and thugs and punks and gangsters. Every one of them was uh, tough and uh, very hard to deal with, even for the teachers. The moment this kid came towards them with his hand full of, well, crap, they ran like little girls. I'm not even kidding you. And after that day, none of them even tried to bug him anymore. They left him alone because they were so disgusted by what he was able to do. So, in this case, this was a very real scenario where filth definitely kept evil and violent people at bay. So, it's not surprising that Chinese people may have reached that conclusion in the old days. Chinese people have had been using washrooms as far as 5,000 years ago. There has been there are historical records and historical sites where you can see traces of where they're used as washrooms from five, almost 6,000 years ago. So it's not a new thing. But for the longest time, the washrooms belong to the government, and you have to pay money to use them. And these were not nice washrooms. Like I said, they were just walls made out of hay or corn stalk, and then a big hole in the ground. By the way, that hole in the ground is very traumatic. A lot of children, that was part of your potty training to how to use that kind of washroom because there has been many cases when children fell into the hole and drowned. That's an awful, awful way to go if you really think about it. Now, some people will say, wait, how deep are these holes? How can people drown? On average, these holes that people did their business in were about 3 meters deep. 3 meters deep. So that's definitely deep enough to drown not only children, even adults, especially if it's near full to the top. So in the old days, a lot of these washrooms, like I said, were owned by the government, and uh, every so often they had janitors that would come in. These people, they were probably the first people in China to have a union of their own. They were uh, always going around to to different washrooms. They carry a huge bucket on their back, or they drag a big wheelbarrow behind them. They're armed with a very long pole with a ladle on it, and they go in there and scoop out the content in the hole and put it in the bucket, and then they take that bucket and sell it to the fertilizer factory, and they actually made a lot of money doing that. The people called them the shit scooper back then, but these shit scoopers actually, like I said, they were the first labor union in China, and they were very influential. They made a lot of money just by selling people's stool and urine to fertilizer factories and manufacturers. So they were extremely territorial. Like, not everybody could become a scooper. You have to have the right connection, and otherwise, if you go and scoop stuff out of a washroom that is the territory of someone else, back then, in several hundred years ago, you could find yourself beaten or even killed for daring to uh, infringe on someone else's uh, uh, washroom territory. It was crazy like that. Now, a lot of civilians didn't have money to pay to go and use these government-owned and government-funded and clean uh, washroom. So this is why when you went to China, even back in the 80s and 70s, you saw a lot of people just doing their business on the side of the road. That's why, because people didn't have the money to pay to go and use these facilities. Back then, not many houses have their own uh, washroom or 厕所. People that had it were very, very rich. So this created a very interesting, rather disgusting, but very interesting phenomenon in early Chinese society development. In the early days, when people either didn't have money to pay to use a government-owned washroom, or they didn't have money to own a washroom at home, people would wait until some of the larger shopping centers, some of the larger stores closed up for the day, and at night people would go and do their business outside the store, in the places where people would park their buggies or their carriages. In another word, they would go and do their businesses in the store's parking lot. And these stores, they didn't mind. These stores figured that if people came and do their defecation in front of the store, that means people are keeping evil spirit away from the store. So the store owners, they didn't mind that. They actually welcomed it. Every morning, before the store opened for business, they would hire one of these scoopers to come in and clean out the driveway, the parking lot, and they would be ready for business. And after they close for the day, it would start all over again. People nearby would come, do their business in the driveway, in the parking lot, and next day the scooper would come and clean it out. So the store believed that they were keeping evil spirit away from them, and people get a place to use the washroom for free, and the scooper made a lot of money. When I was growing up, these type of washrooms were still very popular in Taiwan. I hated going to visit my grandparents on the farm because that's the kind of washroom we had on the farm. You go in there and the ground was just kind of paved, uh, a little kind of a paved road, and then this lead into this really dark, really stinky, really hot enclosure, and there's a big hole in the ground, and it's really deep, and it's really stinky, and there's a lot of bugs and flies and cockroaches all over the place, and sometimes there are snakes down there in the hole. So it's, let's just say it's one of the more traumatizing memories of my childhood. And like I said, for those of you who visit Taiwan or China and decide to go backpacking across the country, you may encounter this kind of washroom as well. So good luck when you do. Make sure that you uh, don't look down into the hole, otherwise you'll get freaked out by what you see in there, and don't fall in. Um, if you enjoyed what I do here in Wisdom Wednesday or what I do with these daily videos, then please do check out the Johnny Tiger Experience podcast. You can find it on any podcast platform by searching for Johnny Tiger Experience. We are up to episode 75, and there we have all the stuff you come to love on these daily videos: martial art tips, Chinese stories, wisdom Wednesday materials, soul searching, cooking. Oh, that's actually cooking tips. We don't have cooking tips on our daily video. So yeah, please do check out the podcast, and I will see you guys again tomorrow on Toy Thursday. For now, thank you and 再见.